To our virtual Thursday training today, July 10th. Today's training topic is going to be Training 3.0. We're going to build classes from scratch and talk about class templates and what the angle is on those. We'll get started now. My name's Johnnie Phelps. I'm the regional trainer for ERS. I have been for just a short time. Yes.
Johnny, show your screen, buddy.
Oh, goodness. Thank you, bud. Everybody see it?
Yep, that's good.
Okay. As I was saying, my name's Johnnie Phelps, and I've been a regional trainer with ERS for a short time, so bear with me on some of my technical difficulties. I'm still learning a little bit here. I'm a training officer at Anniston Fire Department in Alabama. We've been an ERS customer since November of 2013, so I've learned a lot about the program in the last few months. I've learned how great the program can be. I think I've learned some of the shortcuts that maybe can be a little bit helpful for a new user. So that's one reason they brought me on board, to help show people the way I've done it, and that it's very different from the way other people do it. It's a real versatile program. Also with me today, going to be Chris Ekstrom. He's also an ERS regional trainer. He's the training captain at Cripple Creek Fire Department in Colorado. He's been there for 10 years, and he's been an ER customer since 2006. He's been training with emergency reporting for a few months this year. So he's got a little bit of a different point of view, like I do. He does things differently, but I've learned a whole lot from him. So this is a great program where you can watch other trainers. We have broke down. Okay, let's get this fixed quick. You still with me, Tom?
Yeah, we're right here, Johnny.
I'm still here.
Okay. Everything shut down on me for a second.
It's okay. Your screen looks fine.
Okay. As I was saying, me and Chris share things back and forth, so he's helped me a whole lot and led me in some good directions with my training 3.0. He was a training 2.0 and has converted to training 3.0, so he's been huge. That's a big thing with this program. You share, learn from others, and build specifically to fit your needs. Training opportunities. We've got different regional training conferences, on-site training, and online training. The emergency reporting experience, the way they like to train is through Lead ER, integration, and essentials. Upcoming training. We've got regional training conferences scheduled in July. There's going to be one in Orange Beach, Alabama. August, Dayton, Ohio. September, West Bath, Maine. September again, Valley Hill, North Carolina. In November, there's going to be one in Rainbow City, Alabama. And in December, it's going to be Lockheed Martin in Texas. If you're interested in hosting a regional training conference, attending a regional training conference, or on-site training, or even virtual training for your agency, Tom's going to shoot out a poll. Just answer that so we can get with you. We want to welcome all the new and upgraded customers that have been here since June 30th.
And Johnny, we'll go ahead and we'll close the poll in about 30 seconds.
Okay. If everybody can click one of those for us. I'd like to show you where to find the latest information on your home screen.
And Johnny, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll in 3, 2, 1. We'll show the results and then you can continue with your presentation. All right, can everybody see those results? So we got some interest in hosting, attending, and then also some virtual training. And just so everybody knows that's attending today, you'll probably have our training coordinator, Casey. She will contact you. We're not going to send you spam, lots of emails, make lots of phone calls. We just want to touch base with you and explain to you all the details on what each of these entails. So thanks for taking part in that poll, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and hide the results and back at you, Johnny.
Thanks, Tom. All right, if you're looking for latest information, everybody's got a home screen when you sign in. And like this shows at the top of the home screen, you've got two different links. This one showing about the testing, high availability testing, and then down below it, there's a little orange arrow with sign up for Virtual Thursday. That's how you get involved with these Virtual Thursdays like this. Then I have the support button. When you go into support, you can go in there and look at knowledge-based articles. These virtual training videos will be posted to help you learn about the different modules and different subjects. They're real helpful, especially for new users. They help me. We've been doing this for 8 months now, and I use them all the time to look through some of the different modules that I don't use a whole lot. I don't focus on. Feedback. This is a way you can be heard at emergency reporting. You go through the feedback page. You can suggest feature changes. You can give them feedback about what you've got now and what you would like to see different and change, and even what's working really well for you, so that they can share that. Okay, today's objectives. Today we're going to learn about adding a class from scratch, attaching files, URLs, and task sheets to your class, how you load your personnel and then authorize the class, and then best practices as far as the things that have worked for me and worked best for me so far. Learning something every day for sure. You'll also learn how to build a template, adding a new class with a template, and actually making a class template. We appreciate you being with us today, so let's go ahead and get started. We have any questions beforehand?
Looking good so far, Johnny. No questions yet.
All right. This is my home screen, and I'm going to use my home account to go through this with you. So you'll go into Training 3.0. We went through how you set up your class codes and categories last week or the week before last. So all those are already preset. You need to have those set before you add a class. You see my screen okay, Tom? Big enough?
Yep, looks good. Very good.
You'll see up here in the left-hand corner the Add Class button. To add a class from scratch, this would be the button you use. I think when we first started, I was confused about Add Class Template and Add Class. What was the difference? And if you go to Add a Class Template, as I'll show you in a little bit, it doesn't actually add a class to your schedule. You're just making templates to be able to use. So the Add Class button is where you want to go to start out. It's going to ask you for a class name, and we'll call this Test Class. And then it wants a date. We're going to use today. You got this button over here also, so you don't have to use the calendar mode. You can just hit today, and it will pre-populate it. And we'll say it started at 8 o'clock this morning. This will always be checked at first unless you change it. It tells you it's creating a new class from scratch. I want to put in a single class for today, so I'm going to leave that as it is. If you're doing a class from scratch, you just ignore what's in this box right here. This will be for later, and I'll show you how we use that. Go on to Add Class. The first screen that shows up is going to be your info screen. It shows it as red right here, which means it's not complete. Everything in red has to be completed before that will turn green, which lets you know you fulfilled that tab. So for my test class, we're going to say that's a firefighter training class. The pull-down screen are the class categories and the class codes and everything that I have already uploaded to my account. Like I said, we went over that last week. So I'm going to classify this class as a firefighter training. I like to be thorough and try to put everything I can in. So I make sure the location and station is correct. It's Station 1's crew, and the class is going to be located at Station 1. Locations down here. I'm going to go ahead and add an instructor. You get a drop-down box, which will be pre-populated with your personnel, and that's done through your admin module. And I'm going to find myself, and I'll be the instructor for this class today. You can also go in and type an outside instructor, and that makes a note in your finished class who came in and what agency they were from. You can pick whether I'm the lead or assistant instructor if you have more than one. It automatically defaults to lead instructor each time you put one in, so you may have to change those around as you go. And any notes you want to add. A little note there with it. Each time you fill one of the red categories, like the red instructor, it's going to do that. It's going to refresh. Resources. You can add a resource. I don't have many uploaded into my system yet. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how I want that to flow. But we'll say I'm using the classroom at Station 1 and add that as a resource. And notice it's not red, so if you don't put a resource in with this class, it is still fulfill the tab and turning green. Training code. I need to assign a training code. These are important, and the reason they're important is your end result is wanting to pull reports, good, accurate reports that give you information that you can use. For me personally, I've set mine up to where I can try to fulfill my ISO requirements to where I can pull reports for the ISO inspector when he comes, show him exactly what categories have been fulfilled and the hours and everything that go with it. So you have to be diligent about making sure your guys are putting in the correct codes. That way your reports are going to be correct, good, accurate information. I'm going to go down and we'll say this is a ISO company training fireground health and safety. And like I said, with the red ones, it'll refresh like this each time. Okay, it's filled in. Hours are a requirement. I need to know how many hours this class is going to be, and we're going to say 3 today. So you type 3, and with this system, you have to put a semicolon. Like it pops up right there and tells you it's got to be in HH semicolon MM format. And it'll remind you of that and won't let you complete without. And an evaluation, we're going to have a written test at the end of this. There's a little question mark right here that if the written, subjective, and manipulative categories are confusing, you can use this question mark and it will define those for you. Now you'll notice my info tab has turned green up here, so I know I've completed this enough to move on. The narrative tab stays green. That's your option, whether you want to add something to it or not. And pretty much it's just notes that's saved with the class. I'm going to type health and safety. You can add objectives. You can add anything that you want to stay with that class to explain what you did. We'll move on to files. This is where you can add a file to the class that will stick with it. The instructor would normally use these as a tool. You can add a URL or a task sheet. The files can be an Excel, PowerPoint, anything like that that will be stored with the class. So as the instructor is teaching the class, he can actually use ERS to play his PowerPoint, which will show up right here. He doesn't have to code his laptop in there. He can go into his own ERS account and pull the files out of it rather than come jump drives or laptops or anything like that. So it's really handy. And I'll show you a task sheet. We'll add one of those. everything works exactly the same. You'll hit add task sheet. What task sheets are in this system are sheets that the training officer, administrator, instructor, somebody like that has the administrative privileges to be able to add through the settings different sheets. And as you notice in here, I've kind of overloaded it because I've played with it a lot. You can add EMS skill sheets. You can add your skill sheets for instructor. You can add, there's the PowerPoints. I added PowerPoints in as my task sheets, which we utilize a lot here with officer training. That way it's preloaded for them. They've got their subject. I can put the PowerPoint in there with the class, and that's the instructor never has to do anything but go in his own ERS. Even the students can view these task sheets as you go. When we add safety, we'll add that PowerPoint. Now that task sheet is loaded up right here. After I get this class done, I can sign out and come right back in and open this PowerPoint by downloading it from the file preview. You do the URLs and the Excel, any Word files, anything like that, you do that through this Files tab, attach it to your class. After you're done with that, you'd move on to People. And the people are your students, the ones you're going to assign to the class. For me, it's always going to be agency personnel. You can actually pull them apart by rank. I can go, I just want all firefighters in this class. Or I can go by shift, which I use a lot, because each ISO class is separated by shift. So today is A shift. So now all I've got in front of me are all the A shifters. Me personally, I would look and see who's sick, who's on leave today. I would click all, which is up here in the left-hand corner, that selects everybody, and add. And it's going to add everybody into that class. And let's say Dustin Walker is sick today. I go and remove him from it. Everybody else is here and it's going to be attending. And so you notice the People tab is green. We have people assigned. And the last thing I do is complete the class. If you've scheduled this class in the future, this will not end up letting you review it at the end. So right down here on the bottom there, where you click set this class complete and reviewed, it won't let you review it until the class has been completed. So put your password in. And I'm going to complete and review this class, because it happened this morning. And it will show it as complete and reviewed. And what we'll see when we go back into our training list of scheduled courses for July 10th, got a lot of stuff going on. Seems to be not popping up. Bear with me 1 second. And the way that class will show up is it will show up by date, and then we'll show reviewed once it's been reviewed. If the class was completed but wasn't able to be reviewed, it'll show up as a completed class, or if it's neither been completed or reviewed, you're going to see an incomplete.
Hey, Johnny, it's Tom. It's Tom. What was the name of the class that you just created?
Health and safety.
Just type in health. Just type in the word health there underneath the name column and see if it'll pull it for you. There's one thing I want to show everybody that is there's a known issue that I want to show them. So click enter and it should give you just health there. There you go. And you can sort the date so the latest date is on top, which it should be. You're on page 1, so if you go to the top of the page,
It's probably my fault. I probably typed a different name in. But yeah, I'm glad you interrupted me for that, Tom, because those features up here on top where you can narrow the classes down are so handy when you start a long list of classes going.
go ahead and see if you can just get the latest dates up on top there, because if you get the latest dates, it should pull it for you. Just put in, today, and then there you go. Is there any of those the ones you created for today?
Yeah, it was test class. That's where I messed up.
That's the one thing I wanted to show everybody. You got it. So that's the one you just entered. And you'll notice that even though the class is completed, it was a 3-hour class and it started at 8 a.m. So it should have ended at 11 a.m., which means even in the Pacific time zone, it's already past 11. But you'll notice it still shows scheduled in the status column. That's a known issue. Once it flips to midnight tonight, it will show as completed and reviewed. So I don't know if you guys have encountered that, those of you that are participating today, but that is one thing when I'm teaching them, I have to explain that don't worry, it's a completed class. It just won't register until after midnight, and our development team knows about this. So we're working on it so when the class ends based on time, so like 3 hours, and those 3 hours have elapsed from the start time, which in this case is 8 a.m., it will then automatically show as completed or reviewed depending on what was selected when the class was completed. If an administrator or someone with those privileges not only completed it, but reviewed it, it will reflect that in its status there. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, that was definitely a little confusing at first until I learned that the clock was going to have to roll. And one way you can double check it is just to double click back into the class and make sure it has been authorized and completed and reviewed.
Go ahead and do it just to show them, Johnny. I was just thinking the same exact thing. And if you click on
I look up here and I see my authorize is green, and so I know that has happened. But yeah, that was a little confusing for a little while until I got used to it. So now a lot of times as you'll see on my screen, we keep it pretty loaded down because every engine company has a training every day. I wait at least 2 days before I go back and start reviewing them. That way I know if it doesn't say reviewed 2 days later that it hasn't been done by my assistant chief.
Johnny, one thing I've just noticed in your account, why don't you explain to everybody, we noticed some dates in the future. Talk to them about your planning and how you've decided to do that.
On the dates in the future?
Yeah, scroll up to the top.
Oh, okay.
Notice how we've got some that are later this month and well into the October, November of this year. Kind of explain how your team does that.
Okay. I keep a schedule. Everybody knows that all the way through the end of the year exactly what class on what day is supposed to happen. So the captains on my shift are responsible for making sure that each lieutenant at each outside station, which is the station officer, the company officer, they know what their responsibility is all the way through the end of 2014. And somewhere around November, I'll set out the schedule for 2015. So a lot of them go ahead and put the ISO training in, the company level training, which happens each day outside at each station. I never see them. I may check in on them to see it happening. But this is how I keep up with it to make sure it is happening. So they'll go ahead and pre-schedule that stuff so that it's done and ready to go and in the system. And it just takes a little bit off of them that morning if they happen to get busy. We also have monthly training where it's multi-company. Everybody comes in and trains together. The captains try to go ahead and get those in there as well. Same thing with officer training. There's so many hours of officer training each month that has to be put in. And one thing about the officer training is they can preload with those task sheets. Different chapters of Officer 1 is actually what I put in there for them and use those as my subject matter. and that's what they use. So they'll preload those and have those ready to go. The officer trainings that may be preloaded. And this is actually for explorers. We do explorers here at Anniston. And so we loaded up each explorer, which is not an employee of ours, but we need to keep up with their hours and their subject matter training. And this is an explorer class where they're doing ladders and ladder practicals. They won't have any task sheets attached. It's pre-scheduled for August. They know what's supposed to happen. They know who the instructors are already. It lets both of those instructors know through the system that they've got a class coming up, so they know they need to be ready for it. And then the day of that, the instructor will actually go in and fill the people in, fill his students in, and authorize it, complete it, and then I'll review it.
Johnny, on the people, did you build your explorers into your personnel list in the emergency reporting account, or do you use outside agency or non-agency personnel?
Let me see if they did. I believe they use non-agency personnel.
Okay. I was just curious because I know like some combination departments, some departments like mine, we have a cadre of volunteers, our fire corps, and we actually put them in the system. But so they're not directly commingled with all the active personnel or the operations personnel or employees, I should say. We put like a prefix of ZZ in front of it or XX. I think we use ZZ, and that way they're still on our list, but they're at the bottom of the list because they're less frequently used and it doesn't clutter the active employees list. So I was just curious if you'd done that with your explorers or not.
That is something that's coming, and that's why I was looking to see if they had made that happen yet. But yeah, we're going to put them in here. That way we can just assign, and maybe even assign them a rank of explorer. That way you can narrow it down real easy that way. And you can see we even have stations in here listed as personnel. Our chief officers use that during their daily roster stuff. It makes it easier for them to label everybody. The initial setup on your admin, like I said, I keep saying this, you start getting used to the system, you find little tricks that make things easier and make things flow better. And like adding explorers in here would be real good for us. So maybe that'll happen pretty soon. And as he showed, if you don't already have them in your list, in your agency personnel list, you have a non-agency personnel to where you can add each person individually and throw the agency name on there. Save and add another, so you can sit there and put a whole class in there pretty quick with that. All right, we'll move on to building templates. It's really simple as long as you understand that when you're building a template, that you're not actually building a class. And when you first start using this program, you just got to get your mind wrapped around that you're not building a class. It's not going to show up on this list. It's going to show up in a drop down for you that helps you build classes later. So the whole point of a template is to set things up that you're going to use a lot. It's going to cut down typing time. I don't have a lot of class templates built. That's one thing Chris has a good bit of, just because I haven't made it there yet, made it to where I can build classes that are going to help save time for me yet. You start out by hitting add class template up here, next add class, and then you're going to name your template. And as you can see, I've got some built in here that I'll show you in a little bit after we build this one from scratch. We're going to call this test template. And as you see, we're creating this template from scratch. We're not going to use another template and manipulate it this time. And you set this up just like you would a normal class. Notice the tabs that are missing from up here. You don't pre-put personnel in it, but you can preset this information and you can pre-select files for this class. For my test template class, we'll say it's a fire officer training class. I'm not going to worry about station With me, I've got several separate stations that would be using this template, so I wouldn't leave a station in there. Evaluation method for this fire officer training class, this test template class, we're going to say they have a written test for it. And then you go to the other red category, which is training codes, and you assign it the code you want with it. Find officer training. We're going to say this is a reports and records class. I'd tell him I want this to be a 2-hour class, because if it's normally a 2-hour class, it would save time. I'm going to leave the station location. Standards is something that Chris also has set up in his system really good. That the main thing that I've seen with standards is you can select different standards that this will cover, and it helps you in the end with reporting, with pulling different types of reports. Your standards you can break up into a 1-hour section for one standard, a 1-hour section for another standard, rather than assigning each standard 2 hours. For files, we'll move on out of information, and I'm going to add a task sheet to this class. We're going to call it we'll add a safety and risk management. Now that PowerPoint's sitting here ready. Authorize your template by putting your password in, complete it, and review it. So I just
Hey, Johnny, we had a question.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Johnny, we had a question. It looks like Tom answered most of it. He asked if you pre-schedule a class and input the lead instructor ahead of time, when the class is coming up, will it show up on their homepage as a reminder of their upcoming class they are teaching? Can you show them on the homepage that change my notifications and make sure they know what to check on there so that the instructor sees that?
Sure.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, sure. That's no problem at all. I tell you what, I built this template, and so this template is now completed for use. I'm going to go and show him what Chris is talking about. Let's answer that question, and then I'll go in and show you how you would use this template. So remember, I've got a test template waiting on us. When you go home, into your home page, you see how mine's set up. And I set mine up, specific for me. It shows me any classes that I would be enrolled in, and it shows me that I'm instructing this test class right here. The reason this system shows me this stuff is all based on how I've set my notifications. If you're not a training officer or you're not involved in a lot of training, this may not be what you want to see all the time. I need to see this. I need to see overdue classes, what I need to be looking at. Why wasn't it completed? Why wasn't it not reviewed? Because it fits my job. So that's why all this is on my home screen. I can change that by coming up right here. This link that's called Change My Notifications. You click on it, it's going to pull you a page up where you can select what you see. Notice I've got the training stuff on there. That's my main thing. Let's say I don't want to see that. I click on it. Say I'm the inspector and I want to see inspections. I want to show details. Maybe I don't worry about zones so much. Show overdue inspections. And I want to see all the permits as well. Show details. And we'll say burn permits. I want to see all the burn permits on there.
Johnny, go ahead and turn on your Training 3.0 since we're talking about that module. Go ahead and click that box like you've got yours set up and explain a little bit to the components of that one. And then also to our participants, you can create a class template and with an instructor for the put into the class itself. But if you have different instructors on different days, you can alter that. Anything you create on the template and then create classes from that template, even recurring classes, you can change it day to day. It's not locked down to where whatever you've done for the first day is set for days 2, 3, and 4 in the future. Just wanted to make sure everybody knew that, so there's not any fear in creating a template that once, or creating a class from a template and then schedule it recurring classes that it sets everything and locks it. You can make any changes that you need, and then it will reflect accordingly here. What Johnny's going to show you in the Training 3.0 system notifications.
All right, and as Tom was saying on this notification, if you do select Training 3.0, you can change it in a couple of different ways. I've got mine selected to show scheduled classes, future classes in which I'm not even enrolled in for the next 3 days. And to me, I did a day for a while, I did 7 days for a while, and 3 days is just the best view for me. Shows me the amount that I can handle and digest quickly and get it done, but it's not too far ahead. I also want to see anything that I'm instructing. I want it to prompt me and not let me forget that I got a class coming up. And then I also want to see anything that's pending completion or review, because I know I need to get into it and figure out why it's not done already. I will get rid of that for now so that you can see the view change. After I've got my selections the way I want it, of course, you hit the disc to save your selection and then a refresh. And now I've got permits and inspections in front of me. Which is the view of our inspector and fire marshal here. This is the stuff he would see rather than the training in front of him. I don't like that view because I don't do a lot with inspections, and I'm going to get out of that and get my training back up. Simple as a few clicks and a save. And so you set up your home screen to fit what works best for you. Tom, there's a question.
I'm working on it as we speak. I'll go ahead and type an answer, and then we can discuss it further if you want. Keep going, doing what you're doing, okay. Unless they're okay with the pause here, and I can explain it to Crystal.
Okay. I'm okay with it if you want to before we go.
Crystal asks, is there a way to set up notifications for employees to inform them when a certification will expire in classes needed soon, like ACLS, EVIP, and all of the things that require recertifications? Right now, Crystal, there is not a notification on the system notifications page. There is a report that can be pulled through the reports module to show what's coming up as far as expiration dates for the various certifications, but we're acutely aware that this is a feature that a lot of our customers would like to have, and I don't know where it stands currently in the development process, but there is a way, or there is plans for the future to have more active notification. Now, if one way employees can quickly see what certifications are about to expire, and if Johnny, if you wouldn't mind just quickly going over to my profile. And then hopefully you have some certifications in there. So, Crystal, this is kind of like the longer way where it requires, the employee, the firefighter to kind of check on their status, but at least they don't have to go digging too far. So if you click on notifications, you can see the current status of all of your certifications. And that's if they've been inputted into the system. And in this case, there's a start date and an expiration date. Johnny's good for a long time. You can see on that one certification. And but you can put those renewal dates, and then you can run administrators with privileges to the reports module can run reports. But I think you're probably thinking like I'm thinking, Crystal, is that in like the perfect world, we'd have a certification with an expiration date, and then on system notifications, as you set, and the user can set 15, 30 days, 6 months out to where it pops up and says your cert's expiring in such and such a date, on such and such a date. We are aware of that, and we want to work towards making that happen. But this is the way to the fastest way right now to check it. So Chris or Johnny, do you use any other methods within our system when you've got dates already in there besides this?
We're actually just to the point now where we have gotten everybody's certificates uploaded individually through. It shows up here where I expired in 2080, and that's actually an archive. That's the way I was experimenting when we first started.
Okay.
By one massive PDF of everything from the day we started inputting the information, and then we would do individuals from then on. And I realized real quick that I'd rather the individuals be able to view each certificate, and it's a little more work. But once you get it in there, the system's set up great. Because right now I can go in and view each separate certificate, and as a training officer, I can go in and see each person's certificate and stop killing so many trees and stop loading down the filing cabinet quite so much.
What I'm doing too, Crystal, here is I'm searching our feedback site to see if there's been and I strongly recommend all of our users to go today, right now even, on our feedback site. If you go to how can we improve emergency reporting, suggest a feature, there is already a feature request called, as a user and administrator, I would like to have a way for expiring certifications to be displayed on the home notification screen. For example, your CPR certification expires in 90 days, and it has currently 155 votes. So if there's 20 of us online today, if all of us give 3 votes to that, we have just added 60 votes to it. And right now it has been Michael, who is our content manager for the site, says it is currently under review. So go vote. That's all I can say is vote, because that gets the attention of our product owners that this is a feature that is wildly requested and needed by our end users. And this is where they look at it. So right now it currently shows 155 votes. And as you go type on the feature request site, if you just type the word certification in the box just below, how can we improve emergency reporting? It is the very first one that pops up. So again, since we've got the opportunity, we're all together today, that's 60 votes that can be on it right now. So that'd be awesome if you guys would take the time to do that. And some of you already have. We're already up to 164. Thank you, guys. All right, back to you, Johnny. Sorry to interrupt.
All right. Now, I was trying to show on my screen how you go through support and go to suggest a feature. And
there you go.
Type
in that box there where it says type here. Go ahead and just type in certification, and you'll see exactly what I was talking about. I'm glad you're doing that. Back at the top.
Back at the top?
Yeah, scroll up. It'll just be easier this way. I'll show you what I mean. Right there in that box, just start typing certification. And then click, I don't know if it'll auto do it, but click enter. Okay, it made a liar out of me, but scroll down, there should be one with 160 some votes. Type in certifications plural. And then hit enter again.
Hey, all, this is Chris from Cripple Creek, Colorado. We're just wanted, while he's searching for this one, while he finds that, I was going to let you guys know.
There it is.
That report that Tom was talking about is report number 1639, and you can get through that under reports or under the training version. And it's called Current Certifications by Personnel for Expiration Date Range. And, until this gets fixed, what we're currently using right now, it's going to give you a list if you select either your personnel picker or whatever. And this is going to give you a list of expiration date range. So if you choose the year 2014, you could give somebody at, say, the beginning of the year or quarterly, or which we do right now quarterly, and you would give them this list and say, this is when you're expiring. And this is currently the way to work through the system. So again, that's report number 1639. And that'll give you a list of all your personnel if you choose that and when it expires. So for instance, 2014, if you do a year search on that, that'll give you everybody. So that's kind of the way we do it right now. And that's kind of what Tom was talking about. So until this feature gets added, this is the way we're currently doing it here. So just thought I'd add that in while we were waiting.
We got the link up there. I don't know if Chris put that up there, the link to that actual site for that suggestion. And then, Johnny, if you want to toggle back over to your account and pull up that report quickly, you may not have the expiration date's in there, but at least they can get a sneak peek at what that report looks like that Chris was talking about.
Reports.
There it is.
Scroll down to 1639, and yeah, my start dates aren't in there. We're actually
That's okay.
starting.
That's okay. Just do it. Go ahead and pick a year then, and just they can at least see what the table looks like.
We're actually starting to input our EMS certifications now. We've put nothing in there yet, so it takes a little bit of time, but we're working on it. So I've got one that's in
It's
there.
all right. That's what we wanted them to see, and that way you can pull it out. You can, if you needed to, you can bring it into Excel and just you could pivot table just the dates and go by month and be able to put that out to everybody. So that's the report. And the main thing, if you look at the title of this report, because sometimes our reports, you got to kind of click in there and see, oh, is that the one I wanted? But if you notice, it says 4 personnel, 4 expiration date range. The 4 means filter. So if you see 4 personnel, it means you can select either 1 or multiple personnel. And this being a new report, Johnny, click on the personnel drop down there. Yes, you can pick multiple, which means you can cluster them by station, shift, group, however you'd like, and create a subcategory. Then every time you do pull this report, you can just click for A shift, and you just do 1 click instead of having to select all the people at once. That's the 4 filter, and then 4 expiration date means you can select the date range for the expiration date. So again, just a little trick on learning our reports and the jargon, the prepositions used in the jargon for the reports. But that's that report. So, and then of course we got the feedback. So two great things here, Johnny. Good job on and Chris for mentioning this report, and then also getting them to vote for that idea that Crystal was requesting. So outstanding. Back to you, Johnny.
All right, man. What we're going to do is go back into training 3.0, and we're going to use a template, that template that we actually just built for our new class. You're going to add a class like you normally do. But instead of creating this class from scratch, we're going to create it from a class template. You're going to have a drop-down box. In that drop-down box should be the class that you created. You see, I don't have a whole lot of templates in here yet, but give me a year or so, and we'll have a nice set of templates laid up in here. This is the template that we built earlier, and we're going to use it. Instead of doing that, I'm going to show you. You hit today, and it will populate that for you. And we'll say it's going to start at 9 o'clock this morning. I'm going to use this template to show you what reoccurring does as well. It's just another step and another tool. This box you've got right here is for a single class, a one-time class that you probably don't repeat a lot. And like me and Chris talked about a couple weeks ago, this reoccurring box, you can use it for a couple of different reasons. I use it for let's say it's a 40-hour cert class during the week. I'll click on reoccurring. That way my classes show true hours. If you create a single class, a single 40-hour class, it doesn't show that it's from 8 to 5 each day. It shows 40 straight hours. The way I get around that is by clicking reoccurring, and I'll show you in a second how that works. We're going to add this test template class, and it's going to give you the screen just like normal. You'll notice that there's an extra tab up here called schedule, and that's because I clicked the reoccurring, and that'll allow me to schedule more classes beyond this one with a simple little step. So on information, you'll do it just like you set up a class from scratch, except you're using this template. And you'll notice that all this stuff is already pre-populated for me. My training code's pre-populated because that's how I set that template up. I can change that if for some reason this is not exactly what I wanted in here. I can also change that. You can change anything in it. This is a step that's meant to make things quicker and easier for you. So I'd go in and get my station personnel, which station is actually doing the training, where they're doing the training. Let's say it's at the training facility. And then I'd move forward. because this is supposed to be a time-saving step after I add my instructor, which I did not put in the template. Now you see the input tab is green, which took just a second, and normally you have to populate all of that. Narrative tab, same thing, you can put anything in it you want. Files, there's that PowerPoint that I had loaded into that that template. I don't have to worry about that step. People, this is going to be only lieutenants in this class. I'm going to select all, add them. But I noticed that Lieutenant Gary Wood is sick today, so I'm going to get rid of him so that he's not on my student list. Okay, everything's filled in the way I want it, so now I would schedule my class. And this is only for reoccurring classes that the scheduled tab is going to be up here. It's already scheduled for today. So I want to make sure if this is a 40-hour class, it's going to go Friday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I'll just do a couple here and show you. I want to make sure it's scheduled for tomorrow. It starts at 9 o'clock. And hit insert. I want to schedule it for Monday, the 14th. It starts at 9 o'clock. Insert. And we'll say Tuesday. It starts at 9 o'clock. And insert. After you've got all the days that this class is going to cover, you hit schedule it. It's going to make sure that that's what you want to do, which gives you a moment to check your dates and make sure you've got it the way you want it. And now all those classes are scheduled.
Johnny, do me a favor. Go to the one that's scheduled in the future. What I want to do, and I think I know the answer, but I want to confirm it for everybody. Click one for the future, not the one where you put all the people in, but another date. Click on personnel, on people rather. Yes, I just wanted to let everybody know that it doesn't automatically for the recurring classes, because sometimes it's the same class taught for another shift. So our system currently defaults to where it does not automatically add the personnel that you created on the initial class. However, if that's a feature that those of you that are listening would like, that's something we could, you could put on the feature request site and suggest, hey, I want to check this button. In other words, like add agency personnel on a recurring class, add personnel, a button that would say add personnel to recurring classes from the initial class, but it will not automatically fill your people for recurring classes. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that.
And that's one thing you'll have to do. You'll have to go update your student roster for the next say you've set today's, and today was Monday. So for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, you have to go through and set your student roster. I like that personally because there's a lot of classes where you have a student that something comes up and they can't be there, and it makes me go through and QA my student rosters. That way I don't just assume it's all correct and end up with errors in the system. So for me, I don't mind it so much. Reoccurring is really handy for anything that lasts more than 24 hours. That way you can separate it and it's on the correct days. Or even instructors, if you've got it separated like this, you can go, say you have a guest instructor one day, you can go through and change your instructor for just that day. Still saves a lot of time, and it's a nice feature. And you also have to come in, besides the day that the first day you schedule a reoccurring class, you have to go in and complete and authorize each one individually. And you'll see how it went ahead and scheduled my template for the 14th and 15th, which is next week. And it's only showing those because I narrowed it down in the date. It'll only show me classes for next week. So that's how you would use a class template and use it in a reoccurring fashion. You can do reoccurring without using a class template when you go into just add a class from scratch as well. That's just a feature I figured we'd run over while we were at it. Do we have any more questions so far?
I'm not seeing any questions right now. Any questions out there, everyone?
All right, Chris, do you have anything to add to that, or Tom?
I think the only thing I'd say right now, Chris, or Johnny, is show them. If you look on your over to the far right, you've got the print icon. Click on that and show them the options that they have once a class has been created, even one that's scheduled. Just on the little print icon on the far right. Oh, go back to the table. There you go. Just above your cursor there. That's it.
And this is nice too. ISO likes to see stuff written down a lot of times. So you can choose to print the sign-in sheet for the class with the information. It lets you include only personnel narrowed down from station 1, or you can include everybody, the class information. And look at the print from that. And it shows you the date, the times, where it's at. If I had put objectives in, it would have them in here, the instructors, and then give you a sign-in sheet to let your students sign in.
Scroll down. Yeah, that's it. I want to see show them what also appears in. When you would have a normal roster, of course, of everybody class, and then if you've selected class information, it gives you a summary of the details of the class, instructors, resources. Basically, it summarizes in a document format all of the different buttons when you created the actual class.
Even shows the files that you've added.
All right, well, we're getting close to wrapping up. I wanted to also thank Mark Vodopich. He's one of our support specialists that was also online with us today, and he was the one that posted that link for the feedback site. So, Mark, thanks for joining us as always.
I think that about wraps it up, Tom, unless we've got something else to add.
No, nice job, Johnny. Chris, thanks. Chris, you got anything else to add?
No, I think we're good. We'll see you guys next Thursday for the some more training 3.0 stuff.
I appreciate everybody's patience with me. I know I'm not well versed with this yet, but I appreciate the opportunity to be able to help and share kind of what we're going through here.
Nope, you did a good job, Johnny. Excellent job. And thank you, Chris. Thank you, Mark. And thanks to everyone who participated. And we'll have more on Training 3.0, both the codes and the standards, the various codes in the settings module and the standards. Chris and Johnny are going to be back next week. And I'll be teaching at the Department of Defense site here in Southern Arizona. But we'll try and take a peek in and say hello to you guys. All right, and with that, I think we'll wrap. Johnny, anything else before we wrap?
That's all I got, Tom.
All right, great job.
Y'all have a great day.